A very good morning to you. I think this is just going to be a short video, this one, because it's not kind of talking about any of my normal subjects, but it's talking about a subject that doesn't really interest me, but it is of vital importance to everybody in the country and anybody who has a version of this in the world. And of course, that is the general election here in the UK. I have had a notification that Simon Crane has done a video regarding general election. Now, I've not seen it, so I don't know whether it's a comical look at the state of UK politics or an actual serious spin on what he believes has happened here. Let me tell you right from the beginning that I don't vote. I have no political alliance. I went through the stage of believing that my vote was very important to me and that everybody should vote. But certainly over the last 15 years, where different parts of my life, everything went, and it's taken a decade to regain sections of my life and put them back in some form of livable order. I've come to the conclusion that, and I am more than happy to receive your points regarding this, either agreeing, disagreeing, or just generally commenting, that the 5-year period here in the UK that we elect any political party for is pointless, because if it was of any use, then why at any mid-term of an elected party would there be what is known as the mid-term blues? And why towards the end of the serving term would the same questions be asked by the populace of the UK? Questions such as, why are we still paying so much tax as working people when it appears that the higher echelon of earners escape taxation, whether it is due to tax evasion or tax avoidance? Why is the NHS, the National Health Service here in Britain, performing badly? Why is immigration not better controlled? Why are promises broken, such as at the beginning of the last election, Nick Clegg, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, went back on a promise he made regarding tuition fees at universities. My view on politicians and politics in the UK is that nothing changes. If things did change, then the contentment and happiness of the populace of the UK would be noticeable, and I do not notice that, and you hear the same complaints and the same questions being asked year on year on year. And the reason I believe that nothing changes is that the elected party, i.e. the government of the day, is nothing more than a figurehead, because it is my belief that there are powerful civil servants working in Whitehall, in Westminster, who actually run the country. They devise and implement policies, whether it be on social care or taxation or education or maintenance of roads and highways. And when we dissolve government in this country, we in fact do not have a government prior to an election, because it has by the very nature been dissolved. But the country carries on functioning. So if the country carries on functioning, it suggests to me that we don't actually need a government of the day, which, when you view it on television, is a shouting house and a cat-calling house for members on either side of the house. The misnomer that we live in a democracy here in the UK, and indeed anywhere else that has a so-called democratic first-past-the-post voting system, only indicates to me that we live in a democracy one day, every 5 years, one day. After that, whoever gets in onto the benches at Westminster can do anything they like. And I don't have a political axe to grind, but I'm actually quite sad to see that the Conservative Party here in the UK have gained what appears to be overall control in the UK. We will find that a continuation of policies ensuring that the haves here in the UK have more, and that the have-nots, so the people who either have no money, no health, poor education, no job, will have even less as time goes along. I believe you will see further encroaching measures on privatising aspects of the NHS. I do appreciate people like Simon Crane, being a small businessman, of course, will gain taxation benefits because the Conservative Party are all about getting business people on their side by promising tax cuts for businesses and more efficient ways of processing tax returns and things like that, and tax breaks on the more you can earn before you pay tax. People are always bought off by promises of taxation, which just goes to show the naivety of the voting public. As far as Labour is concerned, I've said from day one that Ed Miliband is and will continue to be a liability for the Labour Party. I've just heard on the BBC News here in the UK that BBC sources have been told that Ed Miliband is now looking to resign after the disastrous night that they had last night. But where they're going to go from here, I don't know. If they carry on fighting elections coming from the left, that's the left of politics, they're not going to win the next election either. They need to be more left of centre, a little bit more hardline than they are, and with a strong leader who, not that I want him back, but somebody who is more like Tony Blair, who was indeed a media darling. Everybody has to agree with that. Somebody who is strong and will put a message out there for Labour. If that is not the case, then we're going to have term after term after term of the Conservatives, which will only result in the decimation of the United Kingdom. The distrust of English politics has been demonstrated in Scotland. All but 3 seats have gone to the Scottish Nationalist Party, which will just give them strength to push for a further independence referendum, even though they said that the last one, which they lost, would be a once-in-a-generation thing. I think they will continue giving the Scottish people the chance to vote on independence until they get it right and rid themselves of the influence of the English. So where do we go from here as far as a country? Well, from what I think is, I have no political alliance, I'm not an expert in politics. I think we will see further privatisation of the NHS. I think that more people will and bear with me on this, will be in employment, so the figures of the unemployed will come down, but those figures will be false, because the people who are getting jobs will be on 0-hour contracts, which in effect obviously means that they are not guaranteed any working time, and of course that also means no earning time. But then again, the figures then will reflect that there are less people claiming job seekers allowance, which is good as far as the Conservative Party is concerned. Ian Duncan-Smith, who is the Benefits and Welfare Minister here in the UK, is a right-wing dictator who feels that people like me, who are long-term ill, or in my case disabled with a spinal injury, are scroungers of the state who need to be forced back into the workplace, doing whatever, so that we do not receive the benefits from a system that I paid into for 35 years. The country will be forced into a situation where the top echelons of the population will benefit, and the ones below that will continue to suffer. The electorate have been very, very short-sighted. I do understand why Labour lost. Miliband was a bad politician. He appears to have no strength of character about him. And it's proved to be the case that they did not perform well in the election hustings and that kind of thing. So, for me, I'm not going to say it's a sad day. It isn't, because as far as I'm concerned, nothing's going to change. Not in the short term. In the long term, I potentially feel that any help I get will disappear completely, and I won't be the only one. But that appears to be what the majority of voters here in the UK want. They want a party who will help the haves and will look down and help to crush the have-nots. And that is quite sad in what is, or what I thought was, a civilized country. So we shall see what happens. I would wager that within 2 years things will become very, very clear, and I'm sure within those 2 years I'll return to this subject. It is a very tricky one. Politics is always polarising. You will always find that there are bits of all the different parties' policies that you agree with. There is no longer set boundaries. Unfortunately, unless you get a working coalition, which the last one just wasn't, the people will not be looked after. And at the end of the day, we put, as an electorate, we give the elected party a mandate, which the voters have done. I did not vote, to do basically what they wish, and the Conservative Party will do exactly that. And the section, as I said, this section of the population will benefit, and those will be the well-off, the business owners, whether they be small, medium or large, the non-domicile taxpayers who come in and work for 3 months. They can earn what they want and then disappear. They will not track down tax evaders, tax avoiders, and they will privatise the NHS, and normal people's children at school, their education will suffer. So I guess that's it, really. Bit of a ramble. I don't usually do politics, but I will watch Simon's video later today and see what he has to say. Thank you very much for watching. As always, if you've got anything to say about this nonsense, down below. If you want to make a video to me replying to this, I would love to hear your points. I have no political axe to grind, so say say what you wish, and that's fine. So for now, I'll sign off, and I shall speak to you later. Thanks. Bye bye.